The rain battered the windows of Blackwood Manor, each drop a hammer against the fragile peace within its walls. In the dimly lit servants' quarters, Eleanor scrubbed the last of the evening's dishes, her hands raw and trembling, not from the cold water but from the secret burning in her chest. She'd seen something tonight, something forbidden, something that could unravel the lives of everyone in this grand, crumbling estate. A kiss, stolen in the shadows of the rose garden, between the heiress of Blackwood and a woman the world would never allow her to love. Eleanor was no stranger to secrets. At 23, she'd spent 5 years as a maid in the manor, her life a cycle of invisible labor, her dreams tucked away like the linens she folded each morning. She'd come to Blackwood seeking stability after her mother's death left her penniless, but the manor's opulence hid a labyrinth of unspoken rules and buried truths. The Blackwood family was revered in the small town of Ashbourne, their wealth a beacon of untouchable prestige. But Eleanor knew better. She saw the cracks in their polished facade, the whispered arguments, the forced smiles, the way Lady Beatrice Blackwood, the heiress, carried a quiet sorrow in her eyes. Beatrice was everything Eleanor was not, poised, privileged, and breathtakingly beautiful, with golden curls and a laugh that could light up a room. At 25, she was the darling of Ashbourne's high society, destined to marry a wealthy suitor and secure the Blackwood legacy. But Eleanor had noticed the way Beatrice lingered in the library late at night, reading poetry with a hunger that spoke of longing, not duty. She'd seen the way Beatrice's gaze softened when she thought no one was watching, as if she were searching for something, or someone she could never have. That someone, Eleanor discovered, was Clara, the governess hired to tutor Beatrice's younger cousins. Clara was a newcomer, sharp-witted and fiercely independent, with dark eyes that held stories of a life lived on her own terms. She was unlike anyone in Ashbourne, her bold laughter and unconventional ideas a stark contrast to the town's rigid expectations. Eleanor had overheard Clara's late-night conversations with Beatrice, their voices low and intimate, filled with dreams of a world where they could be free. But freedom was a dangerous word in a place like Blackwood Manor. The kiss Eleanor witnessed was no fleeting moment of passion. It was a confession, a rebellion, a spark that could ignite a scandal capable of destroying both women. Eleanor had been tidying the conservatory when she glimpsed them through the fogged glass, their silhouettes entwined under the moonlight, Beatrice's hand trembling as it cupped Clara's face. The sight had stopped Eleanor's heart, not out of judgment, but out of fear. She knew what happened to women who defied the rules of Ashbourne. She'd seen it in her own mother, shunned for loving a man beneath her station, left to wither in poverty and shame. Eleanor faced her first challenge, silence or betrayal. The Blackwoods had been kind to her, in their distant, aristocratic way. They'd given her a roof, a wage, a place to belong. But loyalty to them meant betraying Beatrice and Clara, reporting what she'd seen to Lady Margaret, Beatrice's mother, who ruled the manor with an iron grip. Margaret's devotion to tradition was unyielding. A scandal like this would ruin Beatrice's prospects and tarnish the Blackwood name. Eleanor could secure her own future by speaking up, perhaps even earn a promotion to head maid. But the cost would be betraying two women whose only crime was love. Days passed, and Eleanor wrestled with her conscience. She began noticing things she hadn't before, the way Beatrice's hands shook when her mother spoke of suitors, the way Clara's laughter faltered when Margaret entered a room. Eleanor's own heart ached with memories of her mother, who'd once told her, "Love is the only thing worth fighting for, Ellie. Don't let the world steal it from you." But fighting meant risk, and Eleanor had spent years building a life of safety, however small. The second challenge came unexpectedly. Clara caught Eleanor lingering near the rose garden one evening, her eyes sharp with suspicion. "You saw us, didn't you?" Clara's voice was low, not accusing but desperate. Eleanor froze, her heart pounding. She could lie, pretend ignorance, but Clara's gaze held her like a mirror, reflecting her own fear and longing. "I won't tell," Eleanor whispered, the words slipping out before she could stop them. Clara's shoulders sagged with relief, but her eyes held a new question. "Can I trust you?" Trust was a fragile thing in Blackwood Manor. Eleanor began meeting Clara in secret, not out of romance but out of a shared understanding. Clara told her stories of her life before Ashbourne, how she'd left her own family to escape a marriage she didn't want, how she'd found solace in teaching and in loving freely. "Beatrice deserves that freedom too," Clara said one night, her voice breaking. "But they'll destroy her if they find out." Eleanor realized then that her silence wasn't enough. She had to act, to protect the love she'd witnessed, even if it meant risking her own place in the world. The third challenge was the hardest, exposure. Lady Margaret began to suspect something was amiss. She noticed Beatrice's distraction, Clara's defiance, the way they avoided each other's gaze in public. She confronted Eleanor one evening, her voice cold as steel. "You see everything in this house, Eleanor. Tell me what my daughter is hiding." Eleanor's throat tightened. She could feel the weight of Margaret's power, the promise of reward for obedience, the threat of ruin for defiance. But she thought of her mother's words, of Beatrice's trembling hands, of Clara's fierce hope. "I've seen nothing, my lady," she lied, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. Margaret didn't believe her, but she had no proof yet. The manor became a battlefield of whispers and suspicion. Beatrice's engagement to a wealthy industrialist, Lord Harrington, was announced, a match that would secure the Blackwood fortune but cage Beatrice's heart. Clara, meanwhile, faced dismissal. Margaret fabricated complaints about her teaching, a pretext to remove her from the manor. Eleanor knew time was running out. If she didn't act, Beatrice would be trapped in a loveless marriage, and Clara would be cast out, their love reduced to a memory. Eleanor's resolution came in the form of a plan, one born of courage she didn't know she possessed. She approached Beatrice late one night in the library, where the heiress sat with a book she wasn't reading, her eyes red from crying. "You can't stay here," Eleanor said softly. "Not if you love her." "Tertiary." Beatrice's eyes widened, but she didn't speak, so Eleanor pressed on. "There's a train to London tomorrow night. I've saved enough for tickets. You and Clara can go, start over somewhere no one knows you." Beatrice stared, disbelieving. "Why would you help us? You could lose everything." Eleanor swallowed hard. "Because I know what it's like to lose someone you love. I won't let it happen to you."